Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. In this program today, we will talk about the meeting of the foreign ministers of Quad group of nations held in Tokyo yesterday. Quad is an association of India, US, Australia and Japan. Foreign ministers of India, USA, Australia and Japan met in Tokyo under the framework of Quad yesterday. The main theme of the talks was about how to ensure open and inclusive Indo-Pacific region against the backdrop of China's growing aggression. The foreign ministers also discussed ways to enhance Quad cooperation on cybersecurity and data flows, quality infrastructure, counterterrorism and other areas. At the meeting, the US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was candid about targeting China over its coercive tactics. In the agenda today, we will try to analyze the essence of the meeting and its possible outcomes. We have with us retired diplomat Ambassador Vishnu Prakash and retired Brigadier Sandeep Thapar. But before we start our conversation, let us have a look at this small report.
India, US, Australia and Japan have decided to intensify cooperation under the framework of Quad to ensure an open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. The Quad foreign ministers met in Tokyo yesterday against the backdrop of growing aggression by China, because of which most of its neighbors are troubled and freedom of navigation in the Indo-Pacific region has been hampered. The foreign minister reviewed recent strategic development across the Indo-Pacific and discussed ways to enhance Quad cooperation on maritime security, cybersecurity and data flows, quality infrastructure, counterterrorism and other areas. The objectives of the meeting was clearly about discussing ways to deal with China, which has lately stepped up its expansionist maneuver. At the meeting, US Secretary of State Michael Pompeo was the only foreign minister to candidly name and slam Beijing coercive action, including against India on the Ladakh border. He said, as partners in Quad, it is more critical now than ever that we collaborate to protect our people and partners from the Communist Party of China's exploitation, corruption and coercion. We've seen it in the south, in the East China Sea, the Mekong and the Himalayas. The Taiwan Strait, Pompeo said, adding this are just a few examples. Even though he did not elaborate, Pompeo's reference to China's coercive action in the Himalayas was clearly to its aggression launched against India in the Ladakh sector since May. China has amassed huge number of troops along the line of control in Ladakh sector and mobilized military assets like fighter aircraft, missile systems and heavy artillery as part of intimidation. India, however, has refused to and has carried out matching deployment with readiness to meet any eventuality, including an armed conflict. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said the objective of Quad member nation remains advancing the security and the economic interest of all countries having legitimate and vital interest in the region. He talked about commitment to upholding the rules-based international order underpinned by the rule of law and respect for territorial integrity and sovereignty and peaceful resolution of dispute. Now it needs to be seen if there is any follow-up action on the resolve. Bureau Report.
Now let's welcome our guests, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash and Brigadier Thapar. Welcome to the program, sirs.
Delighted to be on the program with you.
Thank you, sir. My first question is to Ambassador Vishnu Prakash. How do you see the Quad meeting that took place yesterday in Tokyo?
Well, it's a progression. It is a slow progression. The officials, one of the senior officials of the US State Department did mention that there are different outlooks, there are different positions, but that the convergence is increasing and it will take time to strike roots as I see it. There is still a bit of tentativeness. Although if we compare to what it was in 2017, it has made good progress. The dialogue has already been elevated to the level of foreign ministers. The countries are not no longer rushing to assure China that it is not directed against them.
Right.
And there is now clarity about two or three objectives. One is the ASEAN centrality. The other is the uh, the free and open Indo-Pacific region, and the third is maritime security. I'm quite pleased to see every country talking about the need to ensure and enhance maritime security, other than many other important considerations. So it is making progress slowly. The fact remains that there was talk of institutionalizing the Quad, which has not yet happened. But I guess a lot will hinge on the outcome of the American elections and various other factors. But as you mentioned in your remarks, the driving force behind Quad, no doubt, is the aggressive posture, the extraterritorial ambitions of China.
So, as a supplementary, I would refer to yesterday's meeting. At the meeting, only US Secretary of State was candid about attacking China. Others did not even mention China. So, how do you see that?
Yes, not only that, if you notice, the word Quad was not used either by India or Japan, only the
Or the
US and
American, yeah,
Australia.
right.
No, the Americans used Quad,
Yeah, right.
but India and Japan did not even use Quad. But and if you just see our statement, I think was the mildest and most guarded. And if I for one feel that it is time to recognize and call out the elephant in the room,
Right.
because by being so careful about even referring to China, if it is going to help in maintaining relations with China, it is fine. But it is only encouraging China. So, as I said, things are evolving. It will take time, and India perhaps is the most careful player in the whole picture.
I'll come back to you on India's role, but now I want to go to Brigadier Thapar. Brigadier Thapar, China has been objecting to this Quad and even called it mini NATO. So, how do you see that? Is it mini NATO?
Uh, Firstly, I would like to compliment the ambassador, sir, that despite having retired, he still uses the sedate diplomatic language and not is not excitable like me. I see I see the board maybe little more differently that four nations are joining hands against Chinese belligerence or his activities, and three of them, barring India and only his Indian Ocean, three of them dominate to a certain extent his entire three lines of communication. Japan, US, and Australia to a large extent. So it's there is no obvious. It's so obvious that there's only one enemy, the other side. The other side has China. It is not directed at anyone else. So if China calls it mini NATO, it shows that it is worried that these four countries have come together. I know these are early days, as Mr. Ambassador said. These are early days. It's not evolved. It's basically a small little pact kind of a thing. It is moving towards more cooperation, but still it is scaring China or it's worrying China, which is a good sign.
So, I may not agree with you that China is concerned because I think, or worried, because I think China uses the offense is the best weapon of defense. I think that is the tactic to intimidate the others, so that you don't encircle, as they have been saying. You are trying to encircle us.
There is a limit to which it can intimidate. It tried it in South China Sea. It's not been able to succeed. that much. It has been trying against us for the past 6 months. We all know the result. We've reached a kind of a stalemate. So, and the long haul is likely. So it's not succeeded. She has not succeeded in doing what he wanted to project. So possibly there is a limit to what China can do. And if the most powerful nation, America is simply the most powerful nation in the world. Japan is an economic giant. India is also a regional power, so to say. Australia also. If these four countries get against China or come into an agreement against China, it has cause to worry.
Okay, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, I'll come back to you since you referred to the elephant in the room. In fact, I was going to ask you about that. Is it that India is still bogged by the non-aligned mindset? It is not able to come out and openly, no, despite China's aggression, we are not even naming China. I mean, what does it tell you?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't think that we are still under the. We are wearing rose-tinted glasses, and we are living in the non-aligned era. I think that is passé. We understand realpolitik. We have come a very long way. You see, the reason why India is being careful, and I would like to draw a line between being cautious, which is good, and being extra cautious, which is debatable. Now, I leave it to the viewers to decide whether India is just cautious or a little more.
I call India hesitant participant. Is that true? Is that correct assessment?
Well, that is your characterization. I would leave it open. I would say that, I agree as a former diplomat that caution is warranted, but being overcautious is being overcautious. Now, the reason India is being so cautious is that there is unpredictability all around. There used to be a continuity and consistency in the foreign policy posture, let's say, of the US. But that has changed. In the last 4 years, everything has been turned on the head. It has been a new normal. We remember how Australia came in and went out. So before committing oneself wholly to a process or an architecture, I think to get a feel of the lie of the land, to see the extent of the commitment of the other players is important. I think a balance has to be struck. I do hope that we don't become overcautious, because that may not have the desired results. That will send a wrong message and signal to China that there is daylight between the Quad players. So I would very much want to see the process getting strengthened, because as my colleague was also saying, if like-minded countries, major countries come together and speak in one voice, that voice has to be listened to by China. A last point that I would like to make is that at the moment, China is not too worried. They are more more pretending to be concerned, because that is their style. They also know that most of the countries in the world are hedging their bets. At the moment, very few countries are calling China out, and most countries are waiting to see how the proverbial cookie crumbles.
Right. Brigadier Thapar, will you agree with Ambassador Vishnu Prakash that India is overcautious?
No, I won't totally disagree, but there are certain factors. Now, I subscribe to what 4 papers. I carefully read the statements of all the foreign ministers. Let me just quote what Jaishankar said. He said, he talked of coordinated responses to various challenges. It's a very vague statement, but it can cover a multiplicity of threats. Then there was talk of collective solutions to global challenges. While it could be pandemic related, or sea lines of communication, or security, or piracy, but again, it can cover a lot of facets.
the Australian foreign minister talked of
region governed by rules, not power. That a country, one single nation can't throw its power and change the rules. He talked of regional security. So while security per se was not uh, 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 included in these talks, or so far we've not broached that facet of this fact. But slowly people have realized that.
But Brigadier Thapar, he also mentioned about respecting territorial integrity.
Yes,
which we see as I mean China's aggression in Ladakh. So what stopped him perhaps naming China directly?
There is no doubt that we are a little cautious when it comes to China making a statement. We all know nobody is publicly in the parliament. None of the ruling party has named China. In various statements, we've not named China. So it's obviously it's a strategy that you push only this far, and especially in an international forum when you have a northern neighbor sitting eyeball to eyeball, where it never happened earlier. You've got to be a little cautious. So I guess they're doing all right.
Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, I will refer your statement that it is making progress. So, as you know that it was formed in 2007, and then Australia left, and then again it was revived in 2017, and Shinzo Abe was the main man who was actually pushing it. So now my question is, now Shinzo Abe is not the Prime Minister again. So do you think in his absence Quad will make progress?
No, that's what I said. I would still believe that things are slowly coming together. But I did mention that there are lots of questions, lots of moving parts. Now, on the positive side, the very fact that the first international conference in person
Right.
During the COVID era or after the outbreak of COVID was the Quad foreign ministers meeting that Japan held. I think that this is quite significant because Japan is underlining the importance that they attach. This is the first meeting under the Suga Prime Ministership. So continuity is expected, but it was the vision of Shinzo Abe, whether his successor will completely subscribe to the vision and with the passion
Right.
that Shinzo Abe brought is moot. And I did mention that the American presidential elections are happening. We will have a decision about who will be the incumbent in the White House. The relationship between the US and China under the new president or the next president, whether it is the present incumbent or the new one, will also impinge upon the American outlook on Quad. So countries are being cautious, some more, some less, and we are moving ahead. But I think we are taking baby steps and being careful.
Okay, as a supplementary, I would like to ask you, since there are other countries in Southeast Asia, like particularly Vietnam, Philippines, who are also troubled by China, so there is a common thread. Do you think that maybe Quad should be increased to include those also?
Well, it has already been agreed. If you see one of the statements, I have seen the statements of all the four foreign ministers, and from that you can piece together
ASEAN-led, it is
that.
yeah.
Sorry?
ASEAN-led, it should be, yeah, that's the process.
No. I'm not talking of ASEAN-led. I'm talking of. I'll come to that momentarily. I'm just trying to pull it out. What has been mentioned is that, yeah, the four ministers affirmed the importance of broadening cooperation with more countries. It is as specific as that.
Right.
And I think there is a reference to European countries. And as I see it, the ASEAN countries will not take sides. They are very careful. Even Vietnam and Philippines, despite being at the receiving end, will calibrate their relations. They will hedge their ties. The two nations which could be added, France certainly. I think France is ready willing and able and has the heft to add value to Quad. They have stakes in the Indo-Pacific region, especially in the Indian Ocean region. The Quad Plus formulation, where there are a number of other countries, including New Zealand, Israel, etc. I have my reservations whether they are ready to walk the talk, but France certainly should be brought in and will be an valuable partner in the exercise at hand.
Okay, Brigadier Thapar, if I come to you, I think our time is running out. Maybe last question. Is it time for India to maybe speak up more forcefully on Taiwan, particularly, which questions one China policy in the wake of what they have done in Ladakh, and they say we don't recognize Ladakh?
Yes, if you want a response from a security person, then I would definitely say yes.
I am asking a security person only.
The ambassador would be more suited to answer this question. I, for one, say if they are raising question on J&K on various facets of our territorial integrity, there is no harm if they are helping Nepal questioning the borders, settled borders. So they are doing everything in their ambit to ruffle feathers. We can do that, but the implications will have to be because then it takes it to the relations to a new level. So I guess the ambassador would be more qualified to analyze it.
Yeah, I am taking the concluding remarks from him on this. Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, sir.
The foundation of international relations is reciprocity.
Right.
And we have been respecting or taking the one China policy. We have subscribed to the one China policy, and the expectation was that China will subscribe to the one India policy.
Right.
But China has failed to do so. So that is point one. Secondly, when it comes to Taiwan, Taiwan is an economic powerhouse, technological powerhouse, and we are having a reasonably good economic ties with Taiwan. So I see no reason why we should not deepen our economic engagement with Taiwan. I, for one, would also recommend that urgent negotiations for having a free trade agreement with Taiwan should be initiated. And
but stopping
India
short of
has
political
also,
relations, political and diplomatic.
Well, let's let things evolve. At this juncture, I would recommend deepening economic ties, cultural ties, more travel, more exchanges. And India, as you know, has already started joining the Americans, the Japanese, and the others in joint exercises in the South China Sea. Right. So we should be also calibrating our response and gradually seeing how things evolve.
So we shall have a calibrated approach, and my time is running out. Thank you both of you for participating in this debate.
Thank you.
This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another important topic tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.